Hello and welcome to this James Blanchard Cisneros at your service. Today I'll be reading the December 11th Daily Inspirational Message. The condensed version is 2 paragraphs long. Then I'll center myself, say a little prayer, and make a couple comments on the message. And if you find the message of use, please be so kind as to like, comment, and share it, or even subscribe by pushing the little bell button. Thank you for that, and here we go. The title, Ending the Ego's Shame and Game. Paragraph 1. What has shaming yourself or others ever done for you? Maybe it has briefly made you feel stronger because you can put another person down and thus feel temporarily superior. Maybe it has briefly made you feel somewhat safe and secure as you use it to hide from other people's judgments of you. Are any of these so-called reasons truly worthy of you? No, they are not, and so it's time to stop supporting the ego's lies as true. Enough with the power fantasies and thinking that oneness, all, God, love could ever be challenged or opposed. Enough with supporting a mindset that in truth has never brought you the everlasting peace of mind, joy, and love that you have always wanted and deserve. Today, make the conscious decision to stop adding your confusion to your confusion, suffering, and pain. Paragraph 2. Today, if any thought of shame pops up into your mind, stop and choose to no longer dedicate yourself to that delusion. Remember that it is only your belief in the delusion that makes it appear to be real. Take your belief away from shame and watch it dissolve before your light and understanding. Today, remember that God, being perfect, only creates perfectly and that you are His creation. That is why your journey, and because we're all one, everyone's journey should be given the non-judgmental space to flourish. When in doubt, recall that because God is love and all, the divine will always use all for good. Trust this sacred truth and be at peace. Today, stop fueling the false idol of shame with your time, focus, and energy. Shame is not who you are, love is. Shame is not your creator. Love is. Okay. Ending the ego's shame game. All right. First, let us remember our purpose on this planet. It is to be the light of the world. But when you're focused on shame, on guilt, and those type of emotions, you're veiling over your light. You're obscuring your light, and so that you're not being who you were created to be. And so you're not meant to be attached to shame and guilt. You're meant to experience it, overcome it, and teach others how to overcome it. And so today, let us practice these 5 points to help us do that. Let us remember what Lenin, and that's John Lennon, not the Russian leader. Lenin once said everything will work out in the end. And if it hasn't worked out yet, then it's not the end. And I've also heard that say that God is good. And so if it's not good yet, then God isn't done yet. And so that's point number 1. When you're stuck in that shame and guilt, just remember, that's just a part of the story. The end hasn't been revealed yet. And the end, because it's co-designed with the Creator, is going to be good. And so this story will too have a happy ending. And so in point number 1, just trust that God uses all for good. And so this shame and guilt that you seem to be attached to now, it's just a little part of the story that has a happy ending. And point number 2, let us use these feelings and emotions of shame and guilt not to further travel deeper into the dark tunnel, because we've all tried that before, and it gets us nowhere near the light in us. And so when the thoughts of shame and guilt come, practice using it to improve your belief in the divine design. in the sacred circle of all things. And the sacred circle, as it was mentioned a little bit in point number 1, is that you come here and you experience some sort of challenge, some sort of dark time. And then little by little you overcome it. And then once you overcome it, you start to teach others how to overcome. And then once they are too freed from their shame or guilt, then you see why you went through it in the first place. To help this world heal and awaken. To help this world release their guilt and shame. So that they can align once again with the light in them. And so use those shame and guilt emotions when they pop up, not to go deeper into the darkness, but instead to practice trusting the divine design. Understanding that there's a sacred circle in all things. That's point number 2. Point number 3 is about bringing yourself back into the present moment. So you use shame and guilt, again, when those thoughts come up, not to punish yourself, not to punish others. Because that's all in the past, correct? And the thing is that you've brought this past into the present moment, so you're obscuring the present moment. So all you're experiencing is the shame and guilt from the past. But if you were to let it go, and instead choose the holy instant, choose the light instead of the darkness, then the shame and guilt will begin to dissipate and dissolve and disappear. Because you made the conscious choice to trust God and say, okay, how do I come back to the present moment? Maybe I can forgive that shame and then that guilt. Forgive self and others for that. Maybe I can place my future concerns in God's hands, and that helps me return to the now. And so if you're entertaining shame and guilt, you're not in the now. You've brought the past into the now, and thus you're obscuring your light. You're obscuring what you truly are meant to do in that moment. So let it go. Let it go. And use those thoughts, again, to bring you back into the present moment, to bring you back into alignment with the light in me. And so say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling shame and guilt right now it's obviously from my past. In this moment, I'm not here for that. I'm here to be the light of the world, and therefore I want to place those feelings and emotions aside and do whatever love, light would have me do right now. Think whatever love, light would have me think right now. Say whatever love, light would have me say right now. And that's all I'm going to do. And thank you, shame and guilt, for helping me practice coming back and letting the past go. That's point number 3. Point number 4. When you use those feelings and thoughts of shame and guilt, again, not to increase our judgments of self, not to put further weight on our shoulders, because we've already tried that enough times. We're already carrying enough weight from the past. But we're going to use it to practice non-judgment. And so when shame and guilt comes calling, say no. I'm not using shame or guilt to add any more weight onto my shoulders. I'm not going to use it to practice my non-judgment. I'm not going to judge myself, because I know that because of co-design this journey with God, that in that moment, no matter what my ego's saying to me about it, I did the best I could with the tools that I had available to me, and so too did my brothers and sisters. So because I know that I did the best I could with the spiritual and emotional tools that I had at the moment, my brothers and sisters did the same, I'm not going to judge. Instead, I'm going to use this moment that the ego would have me sacrifice to shame and guilt to practice instead non-judgment. And so this dissolves away. And I stay with non-judgment. That's point number 4. You can use it to practice letting go of the story. Practice becoming a more non-judgmental person of not only self, but of others too. And lastly, the point number 5 is whenever shame or the thoughts of shame and guilt come calling, again, use it. Use it as God would, for good. You can always use even the darkness to get you closer to the light in you. And so instead of diving into the darkness, we use it to practice forgiveness, forgiving self and forgiving others. And that goes along with non-judgment. And so you forgive yourself. Okay, shame and guilt are calling me right now. What's the purpose of that today? The purpose of that is for me to practice forgiving myself for the story that I believe is true about me. But if only the love in me is true, because God is love in all, then any story that's apart from love cannot be true, cannot be real. It's only when I place my beliefs on the story that it makes it seem real. And there, when I'm stuck in the stories, when I fail to be able to forgive myself. And so you know what? Today, I'm using the shame and guilt story, those thoughts that come to me, not to feed them or fuel them anymore. Instead, I use them to practice self-forgiveness. Because what happens when you practice self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others, you begin to let go of the veils that separate you, that separate the light in you from your knowledge of yourself. And so you practice forgiveness, and forgiveness begins to release the story. Let go of the story, because the story can no longer be attached to you if you simply forgive it and let it go. And forgive your brothers and sisters for whatever part they played in the story. And so we use those 5 things today. Anytime guilt and shame come up, we know that it's going to be used for good. We practice trusting in the sacred circle under the divine design. We practice coming back to the holy instant where only the love of God is real. We practice non-judgment, and we practice forgiveness of self and others. And so in that manner, we start to use, quote unquote, the bad for good, just as Source would. Always remembering that if we're stuck in the story of guilt and shame, that's just a little part. That's just a little part of the story. In the end, as we mentioned before, everything has a happy ending. In the end, all will be okay. And if it's not feeling okay right now, don't worry about it. It's not the end. If you're not feeling good right now about it, don't worry about it. Take a breath. It's not the end. The end is always a union with the light in you. A reunion with God's source, and a reunion with doing what God created you to be, which is to be the light of the world, to be that non-judgmental person, non-judgmental light, to be that forgiving light, to help others come back from the moment, to help others release the past and the future and come back to the now, to help others trust God more and see the sacred circle in all things. All right, I think that's good enough for now. I hope you found some of that useful. If you did, please be so kind as to like, comment, or share. If you made it this far, God bless you. I appreciate that. And God willing, we'll see each other tomorrow. Peace.